Hey y'all, and welcome back. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. I am super excited to be able to sit down and play with some makeup with you guys and do a casual Katie get ready with me. And for this video, we're going to be talking about menstrual cups. So just a little disclaimer right here at the beginning. If you don't want to talk about menstrual cups, not a problem. This is not the video for you, but that's going to be the topic that I chit chat with you guys about. And we're going to be trying a new to me brand. This brand is Metamorphosis, and I picked up two of their products. I picked up Lady Neigh, this palette right here, partly because I think the palette packaging is so very cute, but also because I think the inside is also very cute and very pretty, and I'm excited to try this out. And then since I was placing an order, I was super curious about these brushes. They just launched a huge brush collection. They're all eyeshadow brushes, lots of blending brushes. They look like they had some smaller blending brushes as well, which is like smaller detail brushes, which is what I like. So I went ahead and picked up this. How many come in the set? 10? There's 11 in here. They do look bigger than what I was hoping and slash what I thought they would online, but I mean, pictures are very hard to tell. I was trying to find some videos of people using them, but when I placed the order, all I saw were pictures and they looked small, but I don't know. We're going to try them out today, and I can tell you if overall, if it's worth it or if I enjoy the size and whatnot. So I'm going to use as many of these as I can today. So let's go ahead and get on and close. I already primed my eyes with the Drug Cosmetics Clean Canvas Eye Base. Then we can get right to doing my makeup and chit-chatting about menstrual cups. Okay, I like to kind of go over my base plan just because oftentimes when I'm talking I forget to like cue you in as they go along. But what I think I'm going to do is use a green on the outer side or the outside of my eye look, yellow in the middle, and then for my lid I want to use a mixture. I think of these two and this as my inner corner highlight, and I feel like that'll be a really pretty kind of fall autumny type of look. Okay, so diving right in, let me look at all these brushes. Holy cow, there are a lot, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to use. Let me go ahead and use, they feel fine. They have a couple with the bristles kind of poking out of them, like they just fall out. So I'll be curious to see how much shedding happens after I wash it for the first time. For my outer corner, I'm gonna go in with this brush here. I don't think they have names. No, they have the name of the brand on the side in white, which makes it very hard to read because it's so pale, but they just have the name brand on the side, no name for the brush or anything. I'm just gonna take that darkest green and we are gonna pop it on the outer corner. So I said in a previous, oh, there's some fallout. You know what? Back it up, Katie, back it up. I always mean to do this when I do my chatty get ready with me videos. I am going to take some setting powder and I'm going to put on a very healthy amount of setting powder under my eyes because I always get fallout and I just don't like fallout. Like I'd rather have like dry eye, like under eyes from too much powder that I can just like spray some setting spray on than have to deal with a bunch of fallout that won't come off because I don't like the fallout. So we're gonna look crazy for this video, but that's okay. Okay, getting back into it. So in a previous video I did not too long ago, I asked if you guys were interested in me talking about my experience with menstrual cups and just like if that was something that would be interesting to you, because I am a fairly new user of a cup. I think I'm going on like 5-6 months of it. And before I did this, I was a strict, why isn't it sticking in that spot? Am I just not setting it down there? Okay, there we go, maybe. Maybe I got some powder there. That would be a reason why it's not sticking. That spot will be where I do my wing, so I'm just gonna leave it. It could also be my wing from earlier, so maybe, I don't know, something about that is a little bit messed up, like I didn't maybe put the primer there, so it's nothing for it to grip onto. Whatever it is, I'm just gonna move on. But yeah, anyway, before this I was strictly a pad user. I was never into tampons. They always kind of intimidated me. And then I went from pads to like a cup, which is, I mean, like I said, I've never used a tampon, so I really don't know, but I feel like a cup is a lot more invasive than a tampon is, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I switched to that towards the beginning of this year, and as much as I do like it, there are definitely some things that as I've been using it, I'm like, nobody talks about this when they do their reviews for these type of things. And I watched so many cup, review videos on cups and stuff like that before actually diving into it, because I was just so uncertain about it. So I was watching tons of YouTube videos on it. And there's just some things that I've noticed that I feel like nobody mentions, but that are just like facts of life if you're going to use a cup, or at least facts for me that like I said, 6 months going on it, and these come up every single month. That is just kind of something you have to deal with, or just, it's not necessarily a con, but it is a part of using a cup that you have to deal with, and I just never heard anyone talk about it. So I asked in the video, I was like, do you guys want to hear me talk about that? And I got a lot of people saying, yeah, let's talk. So that's what we're doing today. I'm trying to find a brush. They have this brush, which is like super stiff. blending brush, what would I use that for? Maybe I'll use it on my under eyes because I don't want to blend into my crease with that. That'll hurt, but also not really work very well. Anyway, I'm gonna take this other green shade and I'm gonna go on top of that green shade and bring it into the middle. So first up, let's see, I wrote some notes because I knew I was gonna forget the points because I mean, it's type of things that I really don't think about until I'm on my period, and then as I'm doing, you know, using it and stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fact. But one of the things I almost forgot about, but I figured I would mention, is I purchased a June cup. Now there are tons of different brands. I'm not gonna get into which brand I recommend or whatnot. I got the June cup because they were having a sale. I knew someone who was using it and they liked it, so I had like that, you know, personal connection of someone who used it and could vouch for it. So that's why I went with June cup. So I can't say for other brands or whatnot, but I used the June cup. The June cup has a little bit of a almost like a teardrop on it. It just has a little extra piece at the bottom, and it's supposed to be that you can pull it out or just like grip it and find it easier to pull it out. That was too long for me. So I apparently have just like really low cervix when I'm on my cycle, or at least the first couple days, because I was inserting it and I was getting it in place and it was like distractingly coming out to the point where like I wasn't comfortable with it in. And I remembered the first couple times I was like, what am I doing wrong? Because it's just not comfortable. Like I don't like this at all. And so I asked the person that was that had been using it, and she's like, oh yeah, I had to trim it a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'll cut it. I didn't really want to cut it because I was like, what if I cut too much and then there's a hole in it? But I did have to cut a good bit off of the tip, so it was just kind of rounded out basically. There's no tip on it anymore. And then I didn't have any problems feeling it once it was inside, or feeling it kind of like it was sticking out type of thing. So just a little something to throw out there. If yours is too long, it's not you, it's just the product is a little too long, so you can, you know, cut it and you're good to go. But I definitely thought that was interesting because I was not expecting to have to cut it when I first got it. Maybe I missed that memo in the instructions of saying that it might be too long, but that threw me for a little loop the first time I put it in, because I was like, okay, I'm not walking around with this thing coming out because that's so uncomfortable. All right, we're gonna switch to this brush. They are a little big, so maybe I'll use this one. I'm gonna start with this one. Let's go ahead and just do this one. No, it's just these little brushes, while I like them, they feel nice and soft, they're too stiff. I like these style, the darker style, because they're a little bit more fluffy and like a typical taper brush. So let's just go ahead and we'll go into this one. It's almost like what I use on the outside, but a little bit more fluffy. I'm just gonna use the tip to pick up the bright yellow matte called Mare. Okay, the other comment I put down is you get to really know your anatomy down there. So yeah, when you put it in, you have to be able to, at least this is the way I always put it in. Every time I put it in, and how I make sure that it's like in securely and well, is that I put a finger around the entire like band of it, like up near the top, and I put a finger around to make sure that the cup was entirely around my cervix. Every time I put it in, I still do, just to kind of check myself and make sure it's got a good seal and isn't gonna leak, I still do the finger kind of just following it around the entire circumference of the cup to make sure that I don't feel the cervix kind of sticking out, because it is a little tough to get it in there. I say it's a little tough for me, but I also realize like I've had 3 children, so I'm sure for people who haven't had children or anything like that, it's probably a lot tougher. But even for me, having 3 children, it still is a little tight. And I mean, now I'm comfortable with it, so it's not too big a deal, but it was something definitely the first couple times I was just like, well, okay, I wasn't expecting to have to do this every time, and it was a little bit of a nuisance. But I will say, like, there is an obvious perk in that when I put my cup in, if I get a good seal, like I don't have to worry about it for at least, you know, 10-12 hours. So here's what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some glitter glue and we'll move on to the lid. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this red shade here. Oh, we only have one flat brush. This is a liner brush. This is a liner brush. Oh wait, no, there's also this one, my bad. Okay, and we'll just use these two because they're the flat shader brushes. So I'll use a big one for outside and the smaller one to cut the crease. So anyway, yeah, you really get to know down there, and I think that's something, I mean, maybe I heard him say it a couple times, but like, I guess I was under the impression that, yeah, at the beginning is gonna be a learning curve, but once you figure it out, like it'll be easy breezy lemon squeezy. But like I said, I've been using it 6 cycles so far, and every single time I take it out and put it back in, I have to check it, you know, check myself and check to make sure, because even when I get a really good insert, there are still times where a little bit of my cervix is sticking out, and maybe it's not a huge deal, like it would only leak a little bit, but if I'm gonna go through the effort of putting in a cup, I want it to be like a perfect seal. And that kind of segues me right into the next one, which is, I find that you still have to use some type of pad or period underwear when you use a cup. The reason being is even if you, let me go ahead and put the next one on because I'm just going to sit here and talk. I'm doing this one on the inside. The reason being is that even if you get a perfect seal, when you take out the cup and put it back in, you still kind of get a little bit of a mess on the walls when you take it out. And then, you know, depending on how heavy you are, if you're on your first day, second day or whatnot, when you're cleaning the cup out and before you put it back in, you can still get a little bit of bleeding and whatnot, so that even if you stick it in and get a perfect seal, there is still going to be a little bit of residue on the sides that will eventually come out. So I found that even if I get a perfect seal, I have to wear either a pad or a period underwear. And I have a period underwear. I want to get more just because they're so very easy. But also, you know, we're having to wear a pad, like it's not like anything heavy duty, but you still have to wear something, or at least be prepared for a little bit of spotting that you're gonna find, like I said, even with the most perfect seal, because there's just a little bit of residue that gets left over. Or when you take it out, sometimes, I mean most times when I take it out, I'm just taking it out. I'm not trying to be like super duper careful. So when I take it out, it tips around and, you know, spills, so that it gets even more a mess inside as you're bringing it out, and hence that will eventually have to come out. So just something to keep in mind, like when you're thinking about using one, or if you're thinking about using one or starting one, you still have to wear something, unless like I'm very clumsy, or I don't know. Like I said, even when I'm super careful and I don't spill it, there's still a little bit that's left inside that I eventually will see, and it will come out on a pad, or, you know, if I have my period underwear, I don't have to worry about it. But that's an aspect that I feel like is worth mentioning, because I know for me, I was definitely under the impression going into a cup that like, oh, this is amazing. Once I figure out how to use a cup, I'll never have to wear any type of pad again. And it's like, I mean, you could, but living on the edge a little bit. And that's one of the reasons I really want to get a couple more pairs of period underwear just to have, because I feel like, you know, period underwear definitely is all like the insurance you need, or all the extra coverage you need. Because like I said, you don't need any heavy duty pad if you get a good seal. That is a big if, because if you don't get a good seal, you're gonna bleed a lot. In the first 2 cycles, there was a lot of times where it took me a long time to figure out how to get that perfect seal, and one of them is always checking around the entire rim. But anyway, if you leak, you'll need more. But if you get a good seal every time, you really don't need much. And so that's why I want to get a couple pairs of underwear. That way, whenever I am on my period, I just have to grab for my period underwear. Anything that, you know, doesn't get caught in the cup can, you know, get caught on the underwear, and it's enough coverage for me to not have to worry about it, and I'm good to go. And then I won't need to use pads anymore. So I was going for like super fallish, but also this is like super Christmassy. Maybe it's just the red and the green, but it's fall. That's one of the biggest things that attracted me to this palette, is just it's such a beautiful fall palette. It's got light tones, but it's got depth in it as well. I don't know, it's just so very pretty. So I'm just kind of blending and playing with it as I do. That inner corner shade is definitely darker, but I like it. I don't mind it. I feel like I would have also liked the other shade, but like I said, I feel like I've done a lot of those really light yellow inner corners recently, so I was wanting to do something different, so it's okay. At this point, let me go ahead and just touch up a little bit more in the outer corner like I always do, and then I'm gonna do a brown wing liner with my CoverGirl liquid liner. So anyway, what was my other point? That was definitely something I wanted to point out, because I feel like I said, I wasn't expecting to need to continue to wear something else with the cup. I thought I could just do the cup and that's it. And like I said, maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm just super messy, or I don't know, I'm just extra bleedy than most people. But even when I get a perfect seal, I still need some kind of secondary insurance. Oh yeah, that's another point. You need to be able to access a sink when you change your cup, which isn't a huge deal when I'm home, because I do have 2 bathrooms where the toilet and the sink where you wash your hands is there in the same room, and you can just like, you don't even need to leave the toilet, it's that close. So that's always the ones I go to, because I don't want to be getting up when I'm bleeding and the cup's not in there. But that's something I never really thought about until I got the cup and I started using it, and I was like, oh yeah, like I can't use a certain bathroom in my house when I change my cup, because there's like the sink is several steps away from the toilet, and I'm not walking. Like I said, I'm not gonna walk when I don't have the cup. So that was something I definitely was like, okay, like I wasn't expecting that, so I figured I would mention it here. Also too, it poses a bit of a interesting dilemma, and if you're someone who, you know, I don't know, works out of the home or has often been on your period out and about needing to change it, but I only had one instance where I had to change it, and we were flying home. So we were in an airport and I had to change at the airport because I didn't have time before we left the house. And that was interesting. And I've read that you don't have to rinse it off every single time. So I tried it because I didn't have any way to wash it when I was in a public bathroom. It was just the stall. And so I just dumped it, stuck it back in there, you know, cleaned as best I could and stuck it back in there. And it was fine. I mean, I guess I didn't, you know, get sick or anything like that and nothing happened, but it was definitely not the ideal scenario in that, like, I wasn't a fan of how fragrant it was when I took it out next time after another 12 hours. So I definitely, for me personally, much more prefer being able to rinse it off and do a little bit of soap and water on the cup before inserting it back, because it just keeps it very, I mean, not really neutral. It just keeps it smelling like current period as opposed to a little bit of a stale period. If you're a girl, you know exactly what I mean, because, I mean, periods aren't a neutral smell, so. Smells is always an awkward subject for me, so hence why I'm getting a little awkward. But anyway, just throwing that out there. You'll have to tell me, like I said, if you're someone who works or is just always, you know, in a situation where you have to change your cup before, or like when you're out in a public bathroom and don't have a sink. Because a lot of people who left comments on there was also like, oh yeah, I'm a cup user for so many years. So I'd love to know what you guys do when you can't clean it, or at least rinse it off before, you know, having to put it back in. All right, I'm gonna do my wing liner because I can't do it very well on camera, and then we'll continue. Okay, so there we go. My wings are done. I went ahead and put on a mascara. So I'm just gonna take off that powder, which I probably shouldn't have done immediately after doing my mascara, because now I'm going to get powder in my wet mascara. But see, I need to learn my lesson and do this more often, because now there's no shimmery fallout or even like color fallout from the mattes. There's a little discoloration here from the powder. It kind of like literally baked on me because I'm kind of sweating under these lights. But hey, it's gone. I just kind of rubbed it back or like blended it in and we're all good to go. So anyway, where was I in my talk? Let me see my points. I think I've kind of touched on most of them. Oh yeah, the next one, it's messy, which probably comes as like no surprise. And I feel like I heard people talk about it a little bit, you know, whatnot when they were using it. And I even watched people, you know, do review videos of cups where they actually like show you them using it for the week. I mean, not show you, but they take you along each time they have to insert and take it out and dump it, all that. And I never remember them mentioning it, or at least highlighting it as much as I feel like it needs to be highlighted, but it's a very messy, like bordering on, you know, you just murdered someone when you're done, because inserting and exerting and whatnot, it's very messy. And I'm very thankful I'm very close to a sink anytime I take it out, because as soon as I'm done taking it out or inserting it, like I immediately just want to wash my hands because I'm like, ew. And maybe that's just me, maybe most people don't care, but it's just an aspect of it that I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not even like a queasy person, but it's just like, I don't know, there's something nice with, you know, a pad and whatnot, that it's all there and my hands don't have to get dirty. But if you are thinking of changing from a pad to a cup, you definitely have to like come to terms with the fact that your hand is going to be covered at least the first couple times, you know, the first day or two when it's like super, you know, heavy and whatnot. I mean, after the first couple days it's not that heavy, so you don't get that dirty, but the first, you know, day or two, you're very brightly red whenever you're finished. All right, let's move on to the lower lash line. I'm gonna do the green and we're gonna focus on, let's do the brown. We'll do the green and brown and then edge it out if we need to soften anything with the yellow. For this, I'm gonna go in with this guy here. It's just a little pencil, very stiff pencil brush. I'm gonna stab into, let's do the green first. But yeah, that was the last thing, because like I said, I even watched people like take it for the entire week of their period, so I could get a feel for like how easy it was for them to put it in, like their first time, their first week period using it, how easy it was for them, any kind of like comments, because a lot of times, especially with this, like I said, you don't really think about it until you're like on your period using it, and then you're like, oh yeah, you see different things, but once you're done with your period, you quickly forget about them. So anyway, that's just definitely an aspect I wanted to highlight, because it was something that I didn't think about before, you know, I bought it. When I was after I bought it, when I was waiting for it to come in and start using it, it just kind of never crossed my mind that it was like, oh, like you're gonna have to get super messy when you first start using it, or on the first day or whatnot, because it's just a fact that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have used yellow, because I didn't use yellow on the outside of this. Now I gotta use, because I used that other green. Oh well, I'm gonna have to edge the whole thing out in yellow. Oh well, anyway. This yellow is super pretty and I love green and yellow, so I don't mind. But yeah, it's just an aspect I just want to highlight if you're someone who's considering a cup and hasn't bought it yet. Not to deter you from using it or wanting to go for the cup. There is a lot of things that I do like about the cup, It's, you know, less money on pads. That was a big reason. I don't have to worry about wearing a pad. I hate wearing pads because they're just, even the most comfortablest, softest, absorbent one is still A, can easily leak, B, doesn't feel great when you wear it, C, can get kind of smelly, and also can be loud when you're walking. If you're a pad wearer, you know exactly what I mean. And I just don't like that. And especially for me, I'm someone who, I'm very heavy, especially the first 2 days, so heavy. I was someone who, you know, when I was wearing pads, like I would put a towel down on my bed when I went to sleep because I was always so nervous about, and I have like white sheets, so I was doubly nervous, but I was always nervous about leaking because I'd be so heavy, and with a pad, it's like, if you get it, you know, get it on nice, and if you have a big enough pad, you're golden, but if it's a little bit crooked, or if it's not big enough to absorb everything, you're in a lot of trouble. So there is that aspect that I really do like about having the cup, is that, like, especially at night, like I have the cup on and I have a pad on, and I feel very, very comfortable. Like I never am nervous about leaking, even on my heaviest days. So yeah, I just want to, you know, make sure I drive that home, that this is not a video to say like I don't recommend the cup. I do think it is really great, and if you're wanting to do like a more cost-effective, because that is the nice thing, even with, if you didn't want to go get period underwear and you just always had to do pads still, it's still only like 1 pad a day, and it's a very like light pad, and it doesn't have to be the best quality pad. It just has to be a little something to catch it. So you're still saving money in that respect, because I mean, if you were exclusively pad wearing, you go through a lot by the time your period was over. Whereas now, like I said, I can get cheaper pads because I just need a little something extra protection, and you use like, I don't know, maybe 7, maybe 8 if you know, took a shower halfway through and had to change a pad, you know what I mean? So I still think it's a big money saver in that aspect, and I like it. Like I like that I don't, when I stick it in and I know I got a good seal, I don't have to worry about it, and that is great. Like it frees up my time so much, and I love it. I'm gonna go in with that gold for my inner corner, and I think we're about done. But yeah, I really like it. Also too, I feel like smell wise, when you're on your period, it can get a little like just smelling like period blood, and with using a cup, like you don't smell it at all unless you know, take it out and you're cleaning it and whatnot. But otherwise, you know, going to the bathroom when you're on your period and you have the cup in, I never smell anything, and that's lovely. I think I really enjoy that aspect of it. And then yeah, like I said, once you figure it out, it's nice and easy. It makes things really nice. And one other thing that I was like really hung up on is, before I bought it, and this is the biggest reason it took me so long to actually buy it and try it, was that I thought that when I was on my period and I'm feeling all painful and crampy, I wasn't gonna wanna be messing with sticking something in me, and I just felt like it would cause more cramps. That was a big thing that I kind of wrestled with, and that's something that definitely like doesn't even apply. Like not only is it, you know, it doesn't cause more cramps, I've heard that it's supposed to lessen cramps. I don't know if there's any kind of, you know, merit to that. And I can't really speak to it because my periods after having children are so different than my periods before kids. Before kids, my periods were like debilitating. Usually the first 24 hours I would just be on pain medication and still like doubled over in pain. But since having children, my periods are a lot easier, where I only like the first day, not every period, but most periods, I'll take some Tylenol once at the very start of it when it's getting painful, and then I'll be good to go. Every now and then I'll take it again, like for 24 hours, so I'll take 2 doses of Tylenol and I'll be good for that period. Sometimes I don't even have to take any because it's not bad enough, or I'm home and I can just sit and chill kind of thing. But it's a lot different, so I can't really speak to if the cup is making it that big of a difference, because I started using my cup 6 or so months ago, and I had got my period back from Levi only a handful of months before that, which when you first start getting your period back after having a baby, they're not painful at all. So right now I can tell you that my periods are like just okay, not super painful, not super not painful, but they're just fine. But I can't tell you if that's due to the cup helping it, or just because that's how my periods are. But all that to say, I'm putting on this velvet lipstick. What is it called? Light Peach from Odin's Eye. What was I saying? Oh, the whole hold up for me not wanting to get it because I didn't think I'd want to deal with it when I was on my period. It's a non-issue. Like I don't even think about that when my period comes and I have to go stick it in. I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll stick it in, no big deal. And boom, it's done. But yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to tell. I just want to kind of hit on those notes that I feel like don't get talked about a lot in the review videos, but that I find I have to deal with every time I go to use a cup. And you can let me know down below, do you use a cup? Are you considering buying a cup? I'd love to hear. I'm just curious. I'm gonna go around with this yellow a little bit more. Wait, is this yellow? Yes, make sure it's the right one. A little bit more on this edge. You could just barely see a little bit of that patching issue right there, but not enough for me to bother with. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick up close-ups so you guys can see because the look is done. And I like how it turned out. I think the only thing I didn't use were the 2 matte reds, but I really like how it turned out. I definitely have to continue trying it just to make sure that that patching issue I had on the outside was due to how I prepped it beforehand and not the eyeshadow itself. I love the look. Like, this is such a fall autumny look. So pretty. I like how it turned out. And the shimmers are really nice. They're nothing like super intense metallic or super sparkly, but they have nice pigment. They have some sparkle to them. They show up really easily and they're very pretty. The mattes also blended very nicely. I wouldn't say they're like extremely like intensely saturated and pigmented, but they're nicely pigmented, so I'll continue to use them. I work from dark to light, so next time I use it, I'll try to work from light to dark and just see if that makes a difference, because I feel like that's definitely an aspect where when you have eyeshadows that aren't as pigmented and aren't like as intensely saturated, it often can depend on how your how the final look looks. Depends on which order you put them on, either light to dark or dark to light. So I'll test it out in that way as well, and I will let you guys know. But yeah, this is gonna be it. This is the look for me, and that's my little spiel on using menstrual cups. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I cannot wait to hear from you guys. Oh yeah, the brushes. I'm gonna continue using them. I feel like if each of them were like half-sized and maybe there were fewer of these really stiff brushes, like I get the flat brushes because I love flat, stiff brushes like this for putting on shimmers, but these 2 like stiff, flat blending brushes, I'm not as big a fan of. And then I wish just all the brushes were like, maybe not half-sized, but smaller. And then I think I'd be more into this set. But as it is, they're just, using it this once, they're just okay. I wasn't blown away, but they're not terrible. They're just a little bit bigger than I wanted, and these stiffer brushes are just more stiffer. Like there's too many stiff brushes than I would prefer, so that's just me personally. But anyway, with that said, that's gonna do it for me. I'm over on Instagram, LadyKatie92, as always, and yeah, I'll see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye.